Okay, good morning. My name is Paul Weston. I'm the chairman of the British Freedom Party. And the reason we called the meeting this morning is we are bringing on board Stephen Lennon and Kev Carroll from the EDL. This has been talked about for a good few months now, and a lot of toing and froing, but we finally got it together. So today is the day that Tommy and Kev come over to British Freedom as joint deputy leaders. And Tommy, I'd like to give you your membership card. Kev?
Thank you. From our point of view, from the English Defence League, it's now the British Freedom Party shares our ideologies completely. This will now give so many people come up to us in the street, support what we do, but are fearful of coming to demonstrations, fearful of losing their jobs, and this now gives us a political voice, a non-racist political voice, which Britain's primed for, and we need an anti-Islamist political party. And I've met with Paul. I was impressed meeting with Paul. It's the first time I can actually relate with someone who actually fits a politician's bill. And if we can combine working class England with middle England, which we will appeal to working class England, we can go to any working class community in the whole country and relate with them, because we are them. And if we can be the first political party to combine middle England with working class England, we'll have a winning formula. We're not saying it's going to, I don't personally, we don't know where it's going to go, but we want to put everything into it. The same way we've dedicated our lives into the English Defence League, we're now going to dedicate our lives to the British Freedom Party and try and change the course of the route we're going down.
We think it's time that there's a new party, a new breath of fresh air to engage in politics and challenge the main three parties. We feel that they've let this country down incredibly badly. It's pathetic, the state of the country now. No one's talking about the elephant in the room, and we are about to engage those parties and challenge them, and challenge the Sharia and the Islamists, and stand up for this country's values and traditions and Christianity itself. We feel that Christianity is being marginalised, not only in this country but in Europe, and we hope to influence the general public. We feel that we'll have them on side, and this country is primed for a new breath of fresh air.
There's 50% of people in this country approximately don't vote. That's us, that's working class England. And no one votes because there's no one to vote for. Because the working class community has been completely let down, and we just hope that we can drill people up and get them voting and get them to support. And to be honest, I've just seen them talking about Luton. The major three positions in Luton Borough Council, Councillor Joan Bailey, one of the only people I have any faith in the town hall. The main three have stepped down, and now we have three Kashmir Pakistani men stepping in. Now the head of human cohesion is going to be Pakistani Kashmir men. We need a voice in that town hall. They don't talk to us, as we've heard Hazel Simmons say, they won't even talk to us. They sit down and have tea biscuits with Islamists, with extremists, but they refuse to talk to the English Defence League. And whether they like it or not, it'll be next May now, but we'll be challenging in Luton. And I think it's going to cause a storm.
So you said you're going to stand in a forthcoming local election?
We will be standing people across the country in all elections. And for the first time, I know the Tories couldn't find anyone to stand in Luton. Before we spoke to them, they couldn't find someone to stand up as a councillor. We'll have people queuing up.
But will you yourself be standing, or you?
Yes, so Councillor Joan Bailey, she was elected on just 900 votes, I believe.
We will be standing.
We could get that just from this estate.
We will be standing.
So effectively, is this the end of the EDL?
No, it's not.
No.
It's not. It's the start of the British Freedom Party. I'm going to stay as leader of the English Defence League because we do what we do. We put pressure, we bring awareness, we bring media.
There are parallel.
We put a microscope on problems. We highlight issues, and we're a pressure group. We'll continue to do that. But now, what this is, it just shows that the British Freedom Party will share the complete ideologies of the English Defence League.
People will make comparisons with the BNP. What
Yeah,
can you say about that?
They always have done. They always will.
The
It's always going to be a
BNP,
stick they beat us with.
the BNP, the leadership of the BNP, not necessarily the... It's a sad state of affairs when 2 million people had to vote for a Nazi, because that's what Nick Griffin is. 2 million people were that desperate that had to vote for a Nazi. Now this will be a breath of fresh air for people, because what the English Defence League's done is separated that. Everyone knows we're not racist. Everybody knows we're not racist. We hate Nazis. Nazism, Islamism, opposite sides of the same coin. We've fought for 3 years, people calling us Nazis, calling us racist. We're now at a stage where people know what we stand for. We stand against an ideology. And that's the same as the British Freedom Party. people will know automatically. We already know. We've got West Indian support, we've got Sikh support, we've spoken to all leaders of all communities, they're all supporting this.
The British Freedom Party is nothing like the British National Party. We're open to all colours, we're open to homosexuals. We are an absolutely tolerant party, but we are going to talk about Islam, which nobody else talks about. So we are not the BNP, we are a moderate face of concerned Britons.
And what makes up the English Defence League, which is what it has, is everyone that's at risk from Islam, from the ideologies of Islam. And that's the same. People who flock to the British Freedom Party who are worried, because this is...
Everybody's terrified of the religion of peace.
People are terrified.
So we're not going to tolerate that any longer, and we're not going to pretend there's not an elephant in the room. We're going to deal with it. We're going to grab the bull by the horns, and we're going to tackle these problems, unlike our politicians.
In our early days, we thought that the major three parties may listen to how people feel, but my thinking is that only when we start taking a percentage of their votes, I don't think we'll get in power, but I think when they see that, they'll start swaying to that side. The same way Sarkozy's doing it now, because he knows where the vote's coming from. And that's all we want to do. We want Luton to be back how it was, and not what's happening to it now. What's happening in Luton is wrong. The future's not any brighter. I've got 3 kids here. I'm terrified for their future with what's happening in the town. No one's dealing with it. Up on this estate, people are getting attacked. Women are living on the estate in fear from Muslim gangs. When they've tried to set a meeting with councillors, which is, as councillors, you have to listen to what people want to say, and you have to listen to your community. They refuse to even listen to them. They refuse to even talk to us.
She won't even sit in the same room with me. She refused to, in a radio interview, the leader of Luton Borough Council refused to sit in the same room to do an interview. She called me a Nazi and a racist. She said she wouldn't sit in the room with a Nazi and a racist. My daughter's mixed race. I know most of the West Indian community in this town, the Hindus, the Sikhs. You know, this is ridiculous. This is just the game they play. I'm from this. I live on this estate. I raised my daughter on this estate. There is a massive amount of intimidation and fear on the streets from Muslim Pakistani youth. It's ongoing. The police know about it. The council are pretending it doesn't exist. Whenever we try to raise our fears and concerns, we tried to hold a meeting in our local community centre. We printed leaflets. We delivered them on the Tuesday night all around the whole estate. 2,500 leaflets. 9:30 the next morning, 20 police officers, 20 community workers from the council were walking around the estate, delivering leaflets, cancelling our meeting about our concerns about the crime on the estate and the lack of response from the police and the council. Now, you couldn't make this up. Right? It's farcical. And this is what we're living under on this estate alone. And if you take that as a perspective of what's going on around the town, of what's going on around the country in different estates and cities and towns, it's ludicrous, and it has to be dealt with. People are just refusing to tackle the problem.
Let's talk about dealt with and tackle the problem. What does that look like to you?
Well, you have to. What does it look like?
Yeah. How do you deal
police
with
each community equally? Like
no two-tier police.
Up on the estate, we sit down with women who are crying, sitting crying their eyes out because they're living in fear, and that's the truth. And we've introduced Islamic leaders to them. I said, do you want to see why we're angry? Do you want to come up and meet the people why we're angry? Come and speak to the 15-year-old white autistic lad that was battered on this estate by 10 Muslims. Come chat to the 16-year-old boy who comes to visit his nan from Dunstable and got 27 stitches around that corner. Come and speak to the woman who, because she's getting abused by the Muslim youth in the alley, which they're always in the alley, the police have told her to walk a different route to the shops. No, she shouldn't have to walk a different route to the shops. The police should police this estate. You can't get a police officer up here to deal with Islamic crime. And that's what it is. You've got hostile Islamic youth attacking non-Islamic youth, and then the school aren't dealing with it. You've got young non-Muslim kids there being bullied, being attacked, and the school brushing it under the carpet. They can't even identify the problem. You're not going to solve the problem unless you identify it. And identifying it is that we have now got new immigrants coming into this estate that are hostile. They're hostile. And when they talk about communication and community, there is a community, and you're breaking it. And
there's already an existing community, and I've raised my daughter on this estate for 23 years. They keep talking about the different communities, and we're trying to a massive influx of Muslim Pakistanis and immigrants into this estate. Now, there is already an existing community that's been here for decades and decades, and it gets along tickety-boo. There's no problems. Everyone's happy doing what they're doing until the massive influx of Muslim Pakistanis and immigrants onto this estate, and all of a sudden the crime figures have gone through the roof. That 15-year-old boy was mugged on my road. 10 Pakistani youth.
No one's
they broke his jaw. He's autistic. He hasn't been out of the house for 3 years. His mother bought him a brand new iPhone and a bicycle to promote him to go out the house just for half an hour. He did. The first time he went out of the house in 3 years, he was beaten so badly, perforated eardrum, broken jaw, his phone taken, his bike taken.
They've now moved that far.
2 weeks the police took to respond to that. His mother and his uncle were so sickened by what happened, the response and the response from the police, that they had to print their own leaflets and deliver them through the letterboxes in this estate, saying, basically, if you have a child on this estate and they're attacked by Muslim youth and robbed and beaten, do not call the police because you will not get a response.
So you're seriously saying that the police respond in a different
Well,
way?
listen,
It's a fact.
Yes,
It's a
but
fact.
when this happened to this boy, when this happened to this boy, and we got the leaflets and spoke to the family, in the newspaper, there was a witness appeal for a mugging in which a white man was involved. Yeah? So then, only when we rang the police and only when we've rang the local papers have they then made a witness appeal. Now, why is it taking that? Why have they not automatically made a witness appeal for these 10 Muslims who have racially attacked a young boy? Well, do you know why there was no appeal? Because DC Mohammed Hussein is dealing with it. And we've sat and spoke to families.
From the race hate crime.
He said the race hate. We spoke to families who he has convinced them, you can speak to him, he has convinced them not to go through with the charges because of repercussions. And that's not the police's job. You're supposed to press charges, you're supposed to deal with these issues. And he's convincing them not to. And you can speak to the families. There's another girl who hasn't left the house for 3 years because of it. So people say about frustrations, I say, well, come and speak to them. And the council won't even come and speak to them. They set a meeting up, and when the meeting was set up, it wasn't English Defence League, it was the Farley Hill Community Initiative, which is made up of Hindu shopkeeper, Turkish Muslim chip shop, all the different shops come together, and they won't even come up and talk to them. They won't even come up and address these issues.
And when we tried to book our community centre,
They put a block
our
up for 3
community
months.
centre, on our estate, just here next door, they blocked us out. They said no. And we said, well, give us, we said, what day is it booked? Is it not booked? They said, it's just booked. We said, all right, let's put it like this. Tell us when it's not booked and we'll work from there. It's just booked.
3 months, you're not allowed to book it for free.
They won't even, the council won't even let us use our own community centre to have a meeting about a crime on this estate and the lack of response from the police and the council. But the next day, they can have 20 police officers and 20 community workers running around playing postal
And
service.
the whole reason they sent me the
Cancelling our meeting.
leaflet. They sent me the leaflet saying why we weren't allowed to meet.